Hey guys, how's it going? So as promised, I'm going to show you some of my progress with my VR project. So we can start off with just some of the visual stuff. So I've gone for a more sunburned look. I have a big fire in my game and it creates this cool atmosphere in the sky. And I'm going to just show you the ash shader that I wrote, which is basically just a global material property I can change. So as you can see, everything goes ashy. I'm going to have ash falling down in front of the camera. And if I can actually load it for you, ash particle, ash fallout. So this thing basically follows the player around. As you can see, there's like a subtle ash effect that comes down. So that's going to happen over time. So it's going to start a lot more subtle, like maybe like this. And when it's in full fire, it's really going to go for it like that and turn everything in a layer of ash. And you can see here that it even does with the buildings. And the interior should be ash free. So that's pretty cool. It's just all done with materials. And a master shader. So it looks pretty cool in the tree there actually. You can really see it. It's like the more verts you have, the more interesting stuff it shows. But yeah, so that's kind of the visuals. I do have a spaceship over here. This is the character's hub, the player's hub, and inside we have Dode, he's called right now, which is based on the geometric shape that this civilization uses. You might have noticed the hands in the game are also the same shape, so I'm kind of going with a consistent theme. So that's pretty nifty. I'll show you what that does in game as a cloaking device when you walk away from it. And that little icon in the middle helps you find it again at a distance. Yeah, so other than just a few more props and things, that's kind of the visuals. I've mostly been focusing on interaction actually, so I'm going to play now with VR. Let's see if we can get that going. And fingers crossed it spawns me in the right direction. It's a bit of a hit or miss. Let's put this on. What's going on? Oh, there we go. Cool. You have to excuse the frame rate. It's recording the video and doing VR all at the same time. So I did one of my major milestones yesterday and I got Room VR working. So what that means is for the non-VR people, is this is my player capsule here around my head, okay? And what I can actually do now is I can move around my physical space. This is me moving to the left. It's going to be hard to see. But the capsule is moving with me, right? So that's actually locked to my actual 3D position in my room, which is kind of neat. But if I start moving around, the capsule, sorry, this is me moving with the joystick, has to move as well. So it's kind of a little bit of a priority game right now, like trying to find which is which. But as you can see, in theory, the capsule should now stay with me no matter what I do. So that's great. It's kind of helpful so you don't walk through props and things. You can see here that the capsule is stopping me flipping through stuff I shouldn't be going through. And everything is also always aligned to exactly where it should be, which is very handy. So yeah, that's Room VR now working. Super happy with that. Very hacky, but it works. Next thing I'm doing, I can show you guys, is the interaction gameplay, because that's where I've been spending most of my time. So I've got a bunch of different systems to show you here. These kind of glowing red things down, yellow things, they're a biomass, okay? And biomass is one of the resources in the game. One of the primary resources. It'll be hard to see here, but if you look at my hand there, on the little green is biomass, and the red one on the left is power. And at the top we have DNA. So these biomass things here. Let's see if I can rotate. Okay, there we go. So when I hold my gun down, my interaction hand, you can see that it's highlighting a little bit differently depending on what it finds in the environment. So this is biomass. So when I pull this, what happens? Oh, there we go, and it flies off into your inventory. So it's actually giving me some biomass, and it's also giving me a tiny bit of power. You can't hear, but there's also sounds playing for all this. So that's kind of cool. So I've actually got essentially inventory actors. That's what this type of actor is, and it flies away and it goes into an inventory which the player can't actually access. It's just contextual. The game just knows that you have things right now. And that leads me on to that key-looking thing down there. So this door, I've got to set up now so that I can lock doors, and I require a key to access them. Okay. So now that let me grab this key. There we are. It's going to fly into my inventory. So now that I got the key, I can access the doors. And that's done in a generic way, actually, so that I can have key cards and other types of doors. And it's just component driven, and it uses a string right now to identify it. So, and the door just has a boolean that I can say, should it be locked or should it not be locked? So that's super cool. So if we enter the structure, we notice it's kind of dark in here. For those that were very observant outside, there's a kind of power generator thing. So right now, if I try to turn on the light, that's some more functionality I have with this hand. I can toggle things on and off with it. So right now, it played the sound, but nothing is happening because there's no power in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some fuel. And I'm going to put it into the generator here. So I'm just going to kind of move it into position. And you can see there 25 fuel. And now the timer's counting down. It says I have 4 minutes of power. So, right, so I can go back in here. I must have turned the light switch off again, but I can now turn on the lights. And that's super simple setup, actually. The generator, you just link the light switch, and you tell the light switch whether it should be starting on or off or whatever, and it just handles it, and automatically turns these lights here on and off. So that's super cool, and it works with multiple lights, so I could have a whole building turn on with one generator. And naturally, I could have a bigger generator and different sizes of fuel. You see here is a small fuel, and the one I picked up earlier was a bigger one. And I have a big fuel drum too, which you can also use. So more interaction. I can now, with my interaction hand, I can open cabinets, which is really cool. So there I can grab some cans. Let's grab some cereal. There we are, some Verda bites. And I can also open chest of drawers. So it supports multiple different types here, which is really cool. Sorry, I have to occasionally reorientate myself. Yeah, and you can see you can grab things out quite accurately there. So yeah, the interaction hand's really coming into its own. Some furniture you can pick up too. Great. I'm actually going to implement some form of interaction when you walk into things like this. Like right now it kind of pushes it out the way, but what I actually want to have happen is some reverse kind of impulse onto the player so that it feels like you're hitting something. The bigger it is, the more of a kind of force it will resist, so that'll be cool. Right, so you have to excuse the shaking. I mean, it's rock steady in my camera here in VR, but I know you guys are probably feeling sick now. But so let's keep moving around, and we can see the ship. Oh, the ship shade is actually broken. Yeah, I need to fix that. I think it took in the camera position or something, and now my camera's changed. So I don't know, but anyway, you have to use your imagination for this. But the idea is when you get close to it, it decloaks, and when you walk away, it cloaks. So that would actually be kind of invisible as a small outline because it's a game and you need to see things. But so that's this really cool little effect, and it's handy for the story because if you landed a spaceship on an alien planet and you wanted to hide, you wouldn't have a glowing spaceship like that. So that's the spaceship rocking. What else can I show you? Let's see. So interface. So this is cool. So I can actually bring up the main menu of the game here, and this tracks with my head, so I can look around and up and down. I need to change it a little bit because I reworked Camera Actor yesterday, so the distances were off. But you can see that I can actually use my hand here to. I think the only one that works right now is resume game. Yeah, so that's actually working. So I got my proper setup there. Let's see. So I also have scripted a trigger system and dialogue to play. So when I walk over here, you can now see the subtitles. And and they wouldn't be moving as much. That's just, as I said, because I've changed the camera and I need to restabilize them. But these actually track with your head too, as you look around and up and down, stand up and down. So what you're seeing right now, the subtitles will eventually be able to be turned off if you want to. But yeah, so they're working, so that's cool. And I can actually come out of VR now. Just give you a quick introduction to how that works. So this is my own little trigger setup here. I've been working a lot to try and make these scripting details as easy as possible because I've done a lot of games now and it's a pain in the ass to constantly grab the triggers and bind them. So these triggers work by just you set the mission here, which is I can show you later, but that's the mission scripting blueprint. And you give it a string and everything else is handled. It does everything for you. So you can say whether you want it to be a sphere. Sorry, it's just really laggy because of the capture, I think. Or if you want it to be a box, you can change the size. You can change the offset and things like that. So that's just really, really easy to get a trigger working there. And if I browse to this asset, I can actually open this and drag it into the screen. This is my story setup, so I tried to make this as easy as possible too. So just have a list here of different dialogue lines to play. And I also support force play, so this will cancel anything that's playing already. So if it's something critical, not just chatter, it can play that for you right away. It fades the old one out and clears the array and starts again. So that's really slick. You can see here I will have the different players that I can have trigger it, and that will, play change maybe the icon or the text or whatever that's at the top. This is the text that you type in, the subtitle text, and the sound cue and the post delay until it plays the next line. I'll eventually support real dialogue playback in here. I did it originally, but it wasn't playing for some reason, so I kind of just changed it for a quick hack, just for a sound cue. But it's actually easy to swap in if I want. That's all handled for you. And yeah, so that leads me to the mission scripting part. This is pretty cool. There's a lot of work done into this. So I have support for all sorts of different things right now. This is just a test mission running. So I pay a lot of attention onto just having only a couple of variables that you have to execute and store for each mission type, which is really handy. If you guys have scripted missions before, you'll know that that saves a lot of time. This child mission here, the parent mission, does a lot of the stuff for you. This is objectives running. I have objectives. I can also show you those at some point, but those are running. I have short and long text objective activating, and all you do to activate it is just run this single shed function here, which is super great. I support text updating for objectives and objective complete. And the game currently only supports one objective active at a time. So I have triggers. This is the trigger that you saw me touching in the level. Basically has an identifier list here of triggers that will respond to it, and then I switch on an integer. This isn't great, but honestly I still prefer this than doing it the old-fashioned way. This is my all the dialogue is basically stored automatically by the game, and then it finds it, and then it plays it. So it's pretty cool. So that's a very easy way to play the dialogue. World interaction examples. This is pretty neat. This is all set up and ready to go and working. I basically add a component onto anything I want with various functionality in it, and then it will just automatically fire when that functionality is set. So in this case, if I scanned something with an orb, it's going to come through, and in this case I'm going to specifically check against the mushrooms. If the mushrooms have been scanned, then the mission would play dialogue and complete an objective and trigger something else. So that's really neat. I have another example where if you scan an actor, so if you scan, in this case, the bird nest, it's going to say something and do something. I can have it so if you grab a generic actor, so in your hand, it'll do something. And as an example, opening a door. So it's very easy for me to add more interactions on here, so I can test against them, which is pretty handy, especially for tutorials for sure. Let's see, player status. So this is anything that changes on the player, essentially, I can do it. So when the player's power is full, I can do it. When the power is empty, when you've changed DNA, meaning you successfully scanned something, it's going to go ahead and play something. So that's an example, basically, of almost fully functioning mission right there. You've got objectives, you've got dialogue playing, and you've got things triggering off stuff. So essentially, I could build the first level with this amount of functionality. So that all took a lot of work set up, but it's now going. Also have written some tools, just a few basic things to show. This is kind of cool. You can change the length of the swinging, yes, and this actually swings, of the light here, which is really cool. You can see that I can change some common properties with it, but this is inherited from another type of parent actor, so you can see I've got other functionality on here too. So it's just really neat. I can show you some of the basic stuff I was talking about earlier. So this is the power generator. In the power generator, you just link what you want to have be affected by the power, and it will automatically, prevent the wall socket from extracting power, for example, and it'll automatically turn off any light that's connected to the switch and things. So it's just really, really cool. I can change the starting fuel, so we'll just start with some fuel or not. The actual light switches, these are really quite complicated, but internally, but I tried to make them as simple as possible. So because this is a generic switch, I can, for example, change the design if I want and what it actually does, and that's just the drop down there. I can pick the actors that I want to have turn on and off. If the switch is enabled, then it's not scripted initially. If it's disabled, it means you can't use it. Something's going to have to turn it on. Switch start on. So that's just, is the light on or off? And is it once use? And just some sound. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, I think. It's all very easy to set up, which is kind of my goal. It takes longer initially, but it means you can build maps a lot quicker when it's all running. So I think I've gone over most things. There's a rope cable actor. Now I look at it. This is pretty nifty. You can just change the endpoint here and it will calculate the length for you and do some cool stuff. Those actually freeze after about 10 seconds when the game starts, just for performance increases right now, but that's an option in my controls here I can change. So yeah, early days, but a lot of functionality there. And I think soon I'm going to do my save and load system, so I can save anything that's dynamic in this, like props and things, and load them up when you play the game again. So yeah, cool. Well, if you managed to get this far, thanks for watching anyway. And yeah, latest.